What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know that YouTube has censored my video, and after I appealed it and basically told them that their claims are baseless, I was able to get my video put back up. But the idea that they simply just censored me because I used a catchphrase or I used a word that they didn't like or that they wanted to censor, right? Which is like COVID-19 New World conspiracy. So the idea that there's a New World conspiracy around COVID-19, they don't like. So they don't even like the mention of it, right? It's not even the fact that I'm trying to push this theory, because I clearly state within the video, and this is something I broke down to them in the letter that I wrote to them to explain to them that their strike on my channel and that their copyright violation claim or their community violation claim that they had made to take down my video was baseless, and it was based on simple censorship. It was based on the cancel culture of them trying to take something that they didn't like, or an argument that they don't like or that they find offensive, and simply throw it out without even looking at it. Simply just take it as false without even taking a second to look at it. And this is the problem, right? This is a problem with many things in history and within today's society, is that when you don't question narratives, when you don't question the mainstream narrative, and I'm not saying the mainstream media or the mainstream narrative is wrong. I never said that, and I never claimed that. And that's what I talk about in this appeal that I wrote to them, is saying that, look, all I'm doing is breaking down the various conspiracies and looking at a history of conspiracies that have kind of led us towards the way in which we are thinking when we look at the COVID vaccine or when we look at the pandemic. It's not to say that any of these conspiracies are true or fact, right? But the idea that they want to silence people simply for using a word in their title is unbelievable, because they obviously didn't even watch the video. If they took it down so quickly and said I was violating and refuting medical claims to the vaccine, they obviously didn't even watch the video, because I don't do that. I never did that one time. All I said was that conspiracy theorists claim that there could be microchips in the vaccine. I never said that I believe that is true. I don't believe it's untrue, but I also don't believe it's true, right? I'm what they call an agnostic, or a very speculative, or not speculative, sorry, a very skeptical person when it comes to facts or when it comes to information being put out by the mainstream media, right? Because many times they're not checking their own facts, they're not doing their own research, they're just taking narratives that are being pushed to them from the government, from the Associated Press, from the basically controllers of the media and corporations that are trying to push certain narratives. You're basically just accepting what they're saying as fact. And if you don't do your own critical thinking, your own critical research, then you're going to be left accepting a narrative that might not necessarily be fact. And that's just based on history, right? When you look at kind of the mainstream narrative that has always been pushed, it's almost always been false. And it's always almost been proved to be false after 20 years, 30 years down the road. We look back and we go, hey, when they were pushing this idea and that this was what the media was saying, and then we really do the research and we really look into it and we find that it really wasn't that, and that they were just blowing this out of proportion, or they were trying to push a certain narrative. Now I'm not saying that's what's happening with the virus. All I'm saying is that we need to be looking at this thing with a critical lens. And that's all I said in the video, and that's all the video was meant to do. And if you want to watch the video, go check it out on my channel, Revolutionary Review, COVID-19 New World Conspiracy, and I discuss all of the conspiracies and all of the reasons why they're, these narratives and why these conspiracies keep coming back and what they kind of are trying to insinuate. So that's all I'm trying to say in that video. And in this, I just want to, basically say that it's really unfair the way in which they censor. And I know that basically the corporations are now controlling YouTube. Like, when you watch the algorithms, when you look at the way in which things are pumped, and it's insane. The things that they push on here, it's unbelievable. So they have like basically these chicks shaking, half naked chicks on TikTok, and they got these millions of followers on YouTube, and they're posting these videos, getting hundreds of thousands of views, and just pushing sex onto kids basically, and they get nothing. It's completely, you know, pushed. And then the mainstream narratives, when they push their, you know, put out their news, they're basically getting like huge spikes, and their videos always get to the top of the you know, research or the search list, even if their keywords are not even the keywords that you're using, or they're, you know, that they're not even the same. They'll still beat your videos simply because they're being pushed by YouTube, right? And that's it's in my opinion, it's completely unfair. And I know you can say, well, they have more money so they can pay, but the idea here is that YouTube was always meant to not be about paying for. Obviously you can pay to promote your stuff, I'm not saying that, but when it comes to content, if you create good content that has good information that people, you know, should, or at least could technically learn something from, you should be able to get some sort of you know, eyes to your channel, or some sort of like hits when it comes to the search engines. But with the corporatization of YouTube and the kind of the emergence of these I think corporations throughout the pandemic that have become virtually inclined, in which, you know, they kind of refuse to use YouTube and all of these different social medias. Now they're starting to come in and dominate them because they start to realize that everybody's going virtual and that everybody's, you know, the world's going online. So they want to try and take over before, you know, or I guess say YouTube is trying to now become corporatized and trying to push out kind of the people that really drove YouTube for years, for the last, you know, half decade prior to, I'd say, the last 2 or 3 years, probably the last 2 years in real, you know, YouTube was basically built by these independent media, independent kind of activists, but also independent content creators that were just putting out content that they believed would be good, that they believed in, and people followed them. But today you don't have that. Today you have a social media world that is controlled by corporations, and that is being pushed, and that is pushing narratives, right? Or pushing sex, or pushing drugs, or pushing whatever, you know. They're not pushing truth, and that's one of the biggest problems. And that's one of the reasons why I made that video, and it's one of the reasons why I made this video, just to discuss the kind of craziness that's behind the censorship. And it's real. You know, cancel culture is real. You got to look into this. The corporatization of YouTube, the corporatization of social media, and the kind of pushing of dominant cultural narratives without questioning the state. This is what George Orwell, 1984, you know, it's kind of like this whole point of this meme here that I put on the front. It's like saying, you know, the war is not meant to be won, it is meant to be continuous. There's another meme that's like the disease is not meant to be cured, it's meant to be continuous. So that's basically the idea that, like, not to say that it's fake, but that the state uses the narrative to push its own agenda, and that's the biggest issue, right? So that's what we need to be cautious of, and that's what we need to be looking into and doing our own research with, and that's why I put up this video. So go check it out. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. More content will be coming. Like I said, I try to do as much as I can, but with the corporatization of YouTube, it's so hard to get anywhere, to get anybody to even look at your channel or to look at your videos. I'm probably going to be putting more money into marketing to try and get more eyes to my videos. But with this video that I just put out, like, it had more views in the first hour than I've ever had on a video, right? It's like almost 20-30 views in the first hour, and this is one of the reasons why I think YouTube was scared, because they don't like these catchphrases, because a lot of when you type these catchphrases in, you just get mainstream narratives. It's just mainstream videos or people refuting them. You get nobody wanting to engage with them at all in a sense of critical thinking sense, which is not to say that, like, you agree with them, but that you are willing to engage with the ideas, and that's all it is. And that's all I ask, is that you engage with ideas instead of just turning away from them because they scare you or they offend you, right? And this is one of the biggest problems with our culture, is that we have become a cancel culture that is based on fear rather than based on fact. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe. Come back for some new content. Thank you.